Hello again, and welcome to the 6th of 31 2019 NHL Draft recaps here at Scouching. Today we're going to be looking at the New York Islanders, and in true Lou Lamoriello fashion, they weren't super busy on the weekend. However, they were certainly gutsy, and they led off their draft at 23rd overall, taking Simon Holmstrom. 1 year ago, Simon Holmstrom looked like a surefire first-round pick, but injuries kind of derailed his year. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Holmstrom evolves over the next little while as he plays with more health and plays more games over the next few years. I like what I see with Holmstrom, however. I thought he was good at the super elite level, all things being considered, and his under 18 was pretty promising. He's a really interesting project. I'm not sure where his upside goes, and I think there were certainly better players available at 23, but if you're thinking he can capture how good he was a year ago, and hoping that this is just a bit of a down year for a player who should be a first-round pick, this could be a good player. And over time, I hope he can get back to the level of play that we saw last year because it really was quite promising. At 57, the Islanders took a big swing on a player that I thought was a reach in this range on Samuel Bolduc. I like Bolduc's offensive tools relative to his size. It's a pretty rare combination. This just feels like too big of a swing in the second round for me. His mobility isn't great, his defensive ability isn't great, and his decision-making does need some work. And considering they didn't draft again until 147, and between 57 and 147, Bolduc would be gone, if he's the guy, then shoot your shot, because at 147 they took Reese Newkirk, who was a guy I thought was a great pick at 147. I love this pick. He's a really skilled center who had really good point production and showed up really well on my tracking sheet this year. I found him to be quite underrated and should have been gone before this pick, so it's a good swing for the Islanders and I like the pick. But then at 178, they went a little bit off the board to me and took double overage center Felix Bibeau from the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies. I saw quite a few Huskies games this year, and I did come away somewhat impressed with Bibeau, but it wasn't particularly often. If he was a first-time draft eligible, I could see this pick making a lot more sense. There were nice flashes there. But for a guy who is either going back for an overage QMJHL season or going straight to the AHL, I'm not really sure this warranted a draft pick. He's a nice grinding center who has nice hands and had good playmaking skills from what I saw with the Huskies, so it could be an interesting complementary piece moving forward. I just feel like there were better swings to take where they took him. And with the 209th pick in the draft, the Islanders went with a big double overage winger in Cole Koski. I can't really say too much about any 7th round pick, but for a double overager with Koski's profile, he shows that there's a bit of defensive work that needs to be done. He was a net negative on goal impacts. He was a good producer offensively though, so maybe you have something there that could chip in as a complementary player eventually, but I'm not super sold on his upside. But again, in the 7th round, if you like the player, you like him, so you can't really say too much. So if you've watched any Scouching Report videos, we're taking that rating system and bringing it into these videos. The number's going to indicate the overall level of potential I see with a team's group of prospects coming out of the draft, and the letter's going to indicate the likelihood of reaching that potential to me. Now, the New York Islanders weren't particularly busy, and they didn't really take huge swings with any of their picks. Reese Newkirk is a good pickup. Sam Bolduc, considering that they didn't have any picks for 100 slots, was a decent swing at 57, although a pick I probably wouldn't have made. Betting on Simon Holmstrom being what he was a year ago and just being in an off year due to injuries is a decent bet, but at 23, that's quite the reach. And Bibeau and Koski are nice overage pieces that might be in the NHL sooner rather than later if they ever make it, but I'm just not sure those are swings that I want to take. So overall, I'm giving the Islanders a 3C. I might come to regret this because strange things happen. Simon Holmstrom could be an interesting player down the line, but I just felt there was a lot more the Islanders could have done to really swing for the fences, which to me is what you're supposed to do in the draft. Bolduc does have nice offensive tools, and if he can round out the package and grow into his frame a bit more, there could be an interesting defenseman here, and Reese Newkirk does have a good analytical profile, but I'm just not super sold on the overall level of upside to come out of this draft for the Islanders. So that's it for the New York Islanders. Next video we're going to be looking at the Columbus Blue Jackets, so it's probably going to be a pretty quick one. If you liked the video, you could click all the buttons you see below me so you never miss another one. If you really liked the video, you could support us on Patreon, where you get access to early access to videos, merchandise discounts, access to spreadsheets for drafted and undrafted prospects, and plenty of other goodies. Or you could pick up some merchandise at the Scouchwear shop. All the links are in the description. So that's all for this one, and be sure to join me in the next video where we profile the Columbus Blue Jackets.